Hello everyone, welcome to What If Issei was betrayed and was grandson of Kratos, son of Atreus Movie 1. Before we start, please go support Draco24 for writing that awesome fanfic. This is the translated version I made. There will be some mistake in character's gender, but of course Issei is a male. Chapter 1. At a party, several people are seen celebrating the defeat of the Chaos Brigade, and away from there, a group of women are seen watching a chestnut tree chatting with some people. Rias, you know girls, I can't stand Issei's perverted attitude anymore. Aquino, yes, it was fun for a while, but now it's going too far with its perversion. Kaneko / the fair, Eki Sr. Yasaka, I wish he would change that damn attitude. Ravel, I have the solution right here, taking out a bottle with a green liquid. Asia, what is that, Ravel-chan? Ravel, what I have in my hands is a potion that inverts a person's personality. For example, if they are arrogant, they will change to a kinder and calmer attitude and mentality, and if they are perverted, they will be the opposite of perverted. Rias, but how do you plan to give it to him, since don't forget that he has Drake, he could warn him. Tiamat, don't worry, I convinced that fool not to say anything, so it will be easier for him to drink it. Roigun, but are you sure about this? She said, it is not something extreme to want to change your personality, and if there are consequences, she said it somewhat worried. Gabriel, calm down, it's also for the greater good. Don't you want a more mature and less childish Issei? Penemu, if you stay calm, it's the worst thing that could happen, he said while drinking a glass of wine. Seraphal, it will also be fun to have a more mature Issei, and who knows, maybe more charismatic. Roigun, but what if it's the opposite? Valeri, don't worry, nothing will happen. We've already managed to convince the leaders of this idea, except for Odin's old man. We've already convinced Rus-chan of this, and she accepted, since this way she'll have a calmer boyfriend who won't have such crazy hormones. They were chatting amongst themselves about who would give it to her, and Kuroka was the one who offered. Kuroka began to walk to where Issei was, who was chatting with Serorg about trivial things. Kuroka, I see Chan-ten offering him a glass of golden apple cider, and without the brown hair, realizing it glowed in a green tone to become golden again. Issei, thank you Kuro-chan, I hope you are all prepared for the speech I will give, and also a little surprise. I said it to give her a warm smile and looking at her face to place a kiss on her cheek. Kuroka is surprised because at no time did he look at her breasts, but instead he looked at her face. At that point Issei was called by Serzek to give his speech. In a quick movement, he drank the contents of the glass and then put it on a table and walked slowly to the Mao Lucifer and took the microphone. Rias, wonder how long it will take for the position to take effect. Ravel, according to what it says here, it will take 3 minutes to take effect, and it is also permanent. That made the girls happy, because if everything went as they planned, they would have a mature Issei and not a perverted one, but one of them began to doubt, and it was Kuroka, because she felt a bad feeling. Meanwhile, inside Issei, a dragon is seen which was watching everything that happened. Drake, I hope this works so I can get my title back and they'll stop calling me the Ape Dragon. But what Drake didn't know is that soon he would no longer be inside Issei. Back at the party, and Issei is seen touching his head as he began to sweat, but did not lose his composure, and continued forward, where he took the microphone from his future brother-in-law, who stepped aside to give him space. Issei, you know, I never thought my life would change so much, I said it happily. I died as a human and was reincarnated as a demon. I discovered that inside me lived a being of great power that helped me not only save the woman I love but also protect everyone. I died more than once, but no matter what the enemy did, I always came back to defeat them and not let them continue hurting my loved ones. At that point his breathing began to get heavier, being noticed by some people who didn't know what was happening to the brown-haired boy. Issei, that's why I want to say something very important. Getting on his knees and pointing at the girls, who are surprised by that. Issei, you were the only ones who managed to repair this broken heart, and that is why I asked you right now, do you want to be my wives? Rias, Aquino, Asia, Kaneko, Kuroka, Olphus, Leifi, Ravel, Seraphal, Valerie, Roigun, Gabriel, Penemu, Yasaka, Samantha, Ross agreed to be my wives. At that, A great silence was felt in the place, causing some concern in the brown-haired boy, who began to cough up blood, but it was black in color. While the girls did not know what to say to this statement, and when one was about to say her answer, loud noises of someone coughing non-stop began to be heard. At that point, all the guests were looking for the disrespectful person who was making that noise, and they managed to see something that left them all petrified, since it was their hero who began to cough harder and more of that dark liquid began to come out of his mouth. Issei, what is this that is happening to me? At that a red glove appeared and a voice began to be heard. Drake, no, this shouldn't be happening, he said worriedly. Issei, Drake, what is happening to me? But then he starts vomiting blood and a dome encloses him inside, and heartbreaking screams began to be heard inside the dome. Rias, Oni-sama, do something, save Issei-kun. In that both the Maos and other leaders tried to destroy the dome, but each attack was absorbed by the dome, increasing its power and size. Meanwhile, inside the dome you see an Issei with many wounds and a green gem on his arm. Drake, forgive me, mate, I didn't want this to happen. Not like this. Issei, what is it you are talking about? Friend here, perhaps you knew about this and didn't tell me anything, he said it with some tears. Drake. Issei, answer, did you know about this? Tell me. Drake, well you. Issei, tell me, did you know about this? I said it with some anger. Drake, yes, I knew about this because I was getting tired of your perverted attitude, and that because of you my title as the Red Emperor of Domination became the Ape Dragon of Lust, he said it without measuring his words. Issei, who else is in this? Drake, your females and some leaders of the different factions, since they were getting tired of your perverted attitude, and it was your females who gave you a position so that you would be different, and leave this perverted attitude aside. Issei remembered how it all started when Kuroka approached him with a glass. There he knew that they poured the potion into the glass. Issei, because whyy. I sacrificed myself countless times to protect them, and this is how they repay me with this. I believe that they loved me for who I was, and I was even taking etiquette classes with Rias's mother to be a good husband, and thus proved to be a worthy leader for the Gremory house, but it seems that it was all a lie. In that he looks at his arm where his partner is, and with a serious look he says, and invoking Ascalon in his other hand he points to his arm. Drake, wait, buddy, what are you going to do? Don't do something crazy. He said it, scared of what he wanted to do. Issei, you and I are no longer partners. From this moment on I stop being your carrier. I do not want a treacherous being like you as a partner. Our friendship and brotherhood ends here. And with a quick movement he cuts off his arm and then takes it and throws it out of the dome, which disintegrates the flesh and expels the gem outside. While outside the dome, everyone sees how something shot out of her to bury herself in a pillar where they could hear the cries of a person, and in that they recognized who it was. Tiamat Drake. And then they came closer to see a green gem which was taken by a somewhat surprised Tiamat, but she put that aside as the dragon's groans and moans could be heard as it repeated. Forgive me, my friend. Rias, Drake-sama, what happened? Where is Issei? I stopped crying to say. Drake, he just rejected me as his partner and summoned Ascalon, and without hesitation he separated me from him, and all this is my fault. If I hadn't accepted this stupid idea I would still be with my best partner. Asia, what does it mean to be separated from Issei-san? Drake, who used Ascalon to cut off his arm where I was and managed to cut all ties with me to break down in tears again. That left more than one person shocked. Valerie, we have to get him out of there quickly, he said with his armor on, beginning to strike furtively, but nothing happened, and with each blow the dome became stronger. Valerie, take this. Albino, divide x20. But nothing happened. But out of nowhere it was felt like something was coming out of the dome again, these being 3 more spheres where 2 of them were recognized. Samantha/Ophis. This must be a joke for both of them to take the reddish sphere with dark touches being their power that they had given to Issei as a boyfriend gift, and they began to cry. Rias, no, this is a lie to take the red weight, and inside this there were 8 pawns, but these were broken and others were broken, and he could only fall to his knees and start crying. And the last sphere was his memories with them as well as his perverted attitude. At that, the dome began to shine brightly, to be seen how a hand came out of it, and then another one to destroy the dome completely, and from it emerged a dark brown man with a serious look and blue eyes. In addition, he was missing an arm, but it was replaced by one of celestial energy, and at his waist was an ascalon that shone brightly, to begin to walk slowly, looking at those present who could not stop seeing his new change. In addition to that, several women could not help but blush at how handsome he became. Already in front of everyone, with a somewhat tired but dry voice, he says, "Issei, we will talk about this another time. Now I am tired, and with your permission I will leave, and sorry for the disaster caused." In that, he turns his back on everyone and takes ascalon, which changes into a black sword. And with a quick movement he throws slashes into the air, opening a dimensional gap, and before entering he looks over his shoulder and says, "Issei, goodbye everyone," to enter the fissure and close quickly. All, but what just happened? Chapter 2. After what happened, they decided to end the party by making more than one person return to their corresponding faction, but in their eyes they could still see what happened a few moments ago, as their hero, now with a new appearance, disappeared from the place in style. While several girls decided to return to the human world to be able to talk to their partner, but upon arriving at the mansion and not finding him anywhere, they decided to sleep naked in the brown-haired boy's bed until they returned and corrected their mistake with him. Meanwhile, somewhere in Scotland, a chestnut tree is seen walking through a very peaceful forest, and in his gaze you could only see a deep sadness, and at the same time disappointment, as he discovered what the people around him were really like. After walking for a while, he came to a somewhat old cabin, but he could see smoke coming out of the chimney, and as he approached he gently knocked on the door. At that point he hears the heavy footsteps of a person inside, and the door is opened by a tall man of somewhat muscular build and white hair and beard. "What are you doing here, kid?" "Issei, that's the way to greet your old grandson." At that the man laughed, and then hugged his grandson. "When you were planning to come visit me again the last time I saw you, you were younger." "Issei, well, some things happened, but how about we talked inside, Grandpa Kratos?" "Kratos, okay, let's go inside, the tea will be almost ready." Note: ignore the tomb of Atreus. After entering the cabin, they each sat in a chair and began to drink tea while talking about trivial things, where Issei told him what happened recently, causing Kratos to get angry and then calm down, take a deep breath and continue listening to his grandson. "Issei, and that's all," Grandpa said it while some tears fell from his now golden eyes, but then he feels someone take him by the shoulder to see how his grandfather looks at him seriously. "Kratos, Issei, don't let that affect you. If they did that, you just have to move on, don't take the path of revenge, that will only bring you more suffering. Remember, if someone hurts you, close your heart to that person and you will see that everything will be resolved over time." "Issei, thank you." With those words, Grandpa said it, wiping away his tears and giving him a calm smile. "Kratos, I like it that way, and first of all I have some gifts for you." To get up from the chair and walk to his room, where you could hear him moving some things and complaining repeatedly, saying where they are to listen to them, I found him to leave his room, and in his hands he had a box and a small red bag with the Spartan symbol on it. "Issei, Grandpa, what is that?" "Kratos, well, these are your gifts which I could never give since your mother didn't want me to give them to you yet, and it seems that she didn't tell you anything, right?" "Issei, she just told me that you traveled to many parts of the world and collected things that she said were pure garbage." A small migraine appeared on Kratos' forehead and he whispered, "Disrespectful daughters who don't respect their elders," and other things. "Kratos, well, I'll tell you about my past and what you really are, but I see that your power is sealed." At that point Kratos' fingers were surrounded by a red aura, and touching Issei's forehead, it was seen how a seal began to break, and at that moment an enormous amount of power began to be felt throughout the planet, causing several tremors, small tsunamis, strong storms and many other things. While in the supernatural world everyone could feel that enormous and monstrous power that made everyone feel like ants. In Olympus everyone felt that power, and they did not know why, but they felt fear, and in a secret chamber under Olympus some small swords began to shine brightly, and a red aura like fire came out of them. Elsewhere, being Asgard, both Odin and his son Thor felt that power but did not know why their bodies froze from pure fear. And in Odin's treasury you can see how an axe all chain began to freeze everything around it, and in the process destroying the chains, releasing strong bursts of ice, freezing the entire treasury, and extinguishing the eternal flame of Asgard to be replaced by a blue fire, and instead of burning this it froze. Meanwhile on a cruise ship, a brunette is seen looking somewhat sad and missing her baby, but then she felt something she hadn't felt in years. Mickey, Dad, what have you done? Note: Issei's father died in an accident. Back with grandson and grandfather. Kratos, ready, this is more than enough. Issei, what was that? He said it somewhat dizzy, and before falling he was held by his grandfather. Kratos, I have released the signal that blocked your true power for the moment. Rest, the next morning I will explain everything to you. With that said, Issei fell into the arms of Morpheus. Kratos, with the release of your power many things will change. He said this to put his grandson to bed and go outside the cabin to see the starry sky. Kratos, they are coming and I don't have much time left, but I know that you will be able to defeat them all. Not for nothing are you the grandson of the ancient god of war and also the ancient father of all. I will train you and teach you to master your power and awaken the Spartan fury, and in his hands a white glow was seen and then a golden sword appeared. You are not ready to use it yet, I will save it for now. At that point he begins to recite a few words. Only when you are ready will it be revealed to you. The path to this sword. And if you prove to have the power, you will be necessary the new god of war. Then he throws his sword into the air to disappear into the night. Kratos, it's done. Somewhere in the world, more specifically in the Pacific Ocean on a small island, you can see something falling on that island, this being the golden sword which, when it touches the ground, begins to turn into stone and some words are marked on the floor. Whoever is worthy of being able to draw the sword will be the new one. God of War. Chapter 3. An older man is seen chopping wood with an axe and carrying everything into a basket and lifting it without any problem to start walking towards his home. After arriving at his destination he lowers the basket and takes some logs to proceed inside the house and put the firewood in the fireplace, and with a stone and a knife he begins to make sparks to light the fire where he places a pot. Then he goes back outside to eat back inside with some meat and start preparing breakfast. Then he heard a door slowly open and he could see his grandson coming out of it, and then greeting his grandfather and proceeding to sit on a chair and see a plate of eggs with bacon and a blackberry juice. Issei, Itadakimas, to start eating in complete peace while watching the snow fall through the windows since it was winter here in Scotland. Kratos, well, are you ready to hear my story, dear grandson? Issei, yes, Grandpa said it calmly and with the desire to listen to his story. And so Kratos tells him that in the past he was the most celebrated general of Sparta, how he made a pact with a god, how blinded by rage he killed his wife and daughter, how he wanted to break his pact with the god and was condemned to suffer for the rest of his life at the hands of the Furies, and how he killed them. How he did the jobs of the gods to free him from his torment, how he killed the god of war Ares and became the new disc of war, also his fight against a guy called Thanatos, and the death of his other grandfather Deimos, how he was used and betrayed by the gods and the Titans. His arrival in the Nordic kingdom where he taught his son Atreus survival and also his final battle against Odin and many more things. Kratos, and that's my story. Issei, wow, how incredible your story was, Grandpa, but what does that have to do with me? Kratos, you are my last descendant and bearer of Spartan power, and tell me, my grandson, do you accept this responsibility? At that Issei was silent for a long time and thinking about his grandfather's proposal, and after meditating a little more he gave his answer. Issei, I accept, Grandpa, I promise to make you proud. He said it with complete honesty, and a blue glow could be seen in his eyes. Kratos, that's the attitude of a warrior. At that point he gets up from his chair and taking the pot, takes it off the fire and taking a bowl, serves some soup, offering it to his grandson, who accepts it with pleasure, and they begin to eat. After eating, everyone is seen holding hands outside the cabin. Kratos, well, before we start I have to give you your gifts since you will have to learn to control them. Then he takes a small red bag and gives it to his grandson. where Issei opens the bag and takes out a ring and proceeds to put it on. Issei, and now what, Grandpa? Kratos, focus your power on the ring and you will see something incredible. With that said, he channels some of his power into the ring and the following happens. At that moment, a beautiful golden spear magically appeared in his hands, with a red cloth wrapped around it. Issei, Grandpa, what is this? I set it to see how the spear disappeared to see the ring again. Kratos, that thing you have in your hands is called the Spear of Draupnir. It has the ability to create infinite spears which you can use as you wish, and now take this. Taking the box and taking out a bracelet to put it on his left arm with the help of his spectral arm, and in that he sees a button that when pressed the following happened. Issei, how cool, he said it, amazed by the design of the shield and even more by the Spartan symbol painted on it. Kratos, this shield is special because it is made of the strongest materials in the world, nothing can destroy it. Issei, thank you Grandpa for these amazing gifts, I promise to use them well. Kratos, okay, enough talking, it's time for training, he said it darkly and very seriously. Issei, I guess this didn't save me. And so the torture began, the chestnut training where every day he got up at 3 a.m. in the morning where he had to run 30 kilometers every day and after that do 200 squats. 300 push-ups while he had 2 huge stones on his back in addition to that 200 sit-ups every day, and when he got used to the training he increased it more, going from 30 kilometers to 60 kilometers, and that was how Issei suffered the worst of the training, and I-10 was like that with him in addition to learning to use his spear, sword and shield and having small fights against his grandfather where he explained his weak points and also taught him different types of fighting arts. Current time, and Issei is seen climbing a mountain while carrying a huge marble pillar on his back. Kratos, come on, you can do it, you still have a long way to go. Issei, it's easier said than done. Kratos, are you giving up? If so, we can go back and start another day. Issei, you're crazy old man, I won't start again from scratch. If I've come this far, I won't turn back. I'm not a coward. To begin to climb quickly while being followed by a Kratos who had a smile on his face for seeing his grandson's determination and wanting to overcome his limits reminds him of himself in his youth. After a hard climb they reach the top where Issei breaks the rope and lets the pillar fall to the ground exhausted. Then he sees someone pass him a canteen of water, and he drinks it all at once before letting out a loud sigh and lying down on the grass. Issei, I'm at my limit, I feel like my body is about to explode. Kratos, but what are you saying, kid? This is nothing to me. Issei, yes, it's easy for you since you're used to doing this every day. Kratos, you have a point there, since I am much older than you and I have a lot of accumulated knowledge. You still have a long way to go to be almost as strong as me. Issei, and when I achieve it, I will take that title from you, grandfather, and I will prove that I am fit to be the new god of war and leader of Sparta. That only makes the old Spartan laugh, and after finishing laughing he says the following to his grandson. Kratos, well, it's time to practice the following, and that would be pain resistance and self-healing. Issei, and how will we do that? He said curiously. Kratos, so taking Issei by his shirt and throwing him off the mountain just to hear Issei say, Issei. Kratos, I love doing that. To jump and fall to the ground causing a hole, and looking around he sees his grandson buried inside a hole and how he slowly heals. Then he approaches him and takes him out and starts hitting his cheeks to get him to react. Issei, haha, my favorite color is 4. Kratos, I think I broke it. Chapter 4. Time skips 7 months. The young brown-haired boy could be seen in the lotus position meditating, and how slowly a red and blue aura surrounded his entire body, releasing both fire and frost. Kratos, okay, keep going like that, don't lose focus, there's not much left. At that both auras began to join, causing a climatic change around them, and that a pillar of energy rises through the air and slowly descends upon the chestnut tree. At that moment the two auras changed to a completely white one, and you could feel throughout the area how the vegetation began to bloom and how flowers and other things began to sprout around the chestnut tree. Kratos, congratulations my grandson, you have just achieved the impossible, you have obtained the power of hope that I once had at that time. I hope you can control this power since it seems that it is double-edged. To see how the now white aura changed to a black one, and all the vegetation around it began to die. Kratos, where there is hope there must also be despair. In that the energy dissipates, and slowly you see how Issei opens his eyes, which had a new color. The one on the left radiated peace, harmony and hope, while the right radiated chaos, sadness and despair. To change back to his normal eye color and fall unconscious from so much release of power. Kratos quickly takes his grandson in his arms and takes him to the house to let him rest, and when he leaves the room he begins to walk until he is outside again, and letting out a sigh he says, Kratos, how much longer will Athena/Freya continue to hide? From the forest 2 women would come out and stand behind the Spartan. Athena, how long Spartan, it seems that time has made you older, laughing softly. Kratos, and you're still the same as dead Athena, and yet you haven't changed at all, and that goes for you too, Freya. Freya, maybe you're right about that, Kratos, but I've changed too over the years. Kratos, you still have the idea of killing me because of your son. Freya, remove the opposite, Kratos. I no longer have any desire to kill you, but... Kratos, but Freya is speaking. Freya, well, let's say that I also have an heiress in this world, she said with a smile. Kratos, wait, don't tell me that you... Freya, that's right, Kratos, I'm going to get married, but this time with a human, and after that my son was born, who after a while swallowed his wife, and they gave me the news that I was going to be a grandmother. That made me very happy, but something unexpected happened, and that is that my daughter-in-law died giving birth, and then my son died in a plane crash, leaving me alone with my granddaughter, whom I took care of for a long time, and when I felt that impulse of power I knew that it was yours but different. A younger energy, and there I knew that I had to begin with the training of my granddaughter. Kratos, I will not let you use your granddaughter to kill mine. Freya, and who said that I'm training her for that? She said it with a flirtatious smile. Kratos, I don't think it's a good idea. Besides, he can't feel what they call love anymore. Athena, what do you mean by that, Spartan? And so he tells them what his grandson's life was like and how his wives and friends tried to change his attitude by force. That for some reason bothers women. Freya, don't worry, I know that my granddaughter will be able to repair her heart even if it takes time. Athena, the same with my champion, I know she can help him. Kratos, so you have a new tool for your plans. Athena, the truth is I had planned to use her to finally kill you, but now that I know what your grandson suffered, what better idea than for her to become his wife? Freya, stop there, crazy, as if his wife won't allow it. My granddaughter will conquer him first, and then I'll be a great grandmother. While they were arguing, Kratos is seen analyzing what happened. Kratos, it seems that my grandson's life will be somewhat problematic with the arrival of those 2 girls into his life. How problematic? Meanwhile, in another universe, it looks like a pineapple head starts to sneeze. Shikamaru, it seems that someone is suffering the same as me with problematic women. I just want to sleep in peace. But in this he is buried by a blow to the head given by his wife. Temari, damn lazy guy who just says that every day. Back to the DxD universe. After a conversation that seemed more like an argument between 2 women to see which of their girls will get the heart of Kratos' grandson first, he is seen entering a basement where there are all kinds of things from various treasures as well as many scrolls and many weapons that he obtained throughout his travels. In that he takes some of the gold that was there and puts it in a bag, and then takes a rune with which he will open a portal to reach a somewhat large house, and then proceeds to knock on the door. I'm coming, stop knocking on the damn door. Brother is not that disrespectful. Yes, whatever you say. Then I opened the door and met someone I hadn't seen for a long time. By my grandmother's beard, how long has it been, dear friend? Whoever sees that person and is surprised since they never saw each other again. Kratos, hello, long time noon Brock and Sindri. Chapter 5. You might be wondering what happened to the girls and the facts. Well, today we will find out. 7 months ago. After what happened that day at the party, The girls found themselves waking up from what was possibly just a nightmare only to see that their Issei was not with them in bed as usual, and they thought he was downstairs preparing breakfast as he has been doing for a while. And they just start getting dressed and one by one they leave the room to get to the kitchen, but nothing. But some sobs were heard to see on the table a green sphere that contained the powerful red dragon Drake, which continued to lament and repeat, "Sorry, partner." And then everyone heard what happened at the party, how their beloved chestnut left without an arm and passing through a dimensional crack to no longer be seen. All, what we have done. To fall asleep. The next morning the first to wake up was Rias, and when she saw that she was in bed with her friends but her Issei was not there. 3 months had passed since the disappearance of the brown-haired boy, and the leaders of each faction did not know where their friend/rival/son/student was. But at that moment the door was suddenly opened, revealing several women who were somewhat disheveled and others with red eyes from crying so much, and the first to speak was Gabriel. Gabriel, one Sama, they already found him. But she didn't get a response, instead she was just ignored. "Michaela, we still don't know anything about him, it's like he doesn't want to be found." "Azazel, recently one of my soldiers felt his power but out of nowhere he vanished." "Surzek, besides we still don't know who was the one who released that terrifying power." "Zeus, that power made me feel enormous terror as if an executioner was about to come for the gods of Olympus. And we also found something we had never seen before." "Odin, what would that be, Zeus-san?" "Zeus, I'd better show them to you and thus create a spell to see several soldiers and some gods who tried to take some dual swords, but every time they got close they were burned." "Azazel, what are those weapons?" "Zeus, we don't know. As far as I understand they appeared out of nowhere and Hades doesn't know where they came from." "Hephaestus, but what's interesting here is that these swords are made of an unknown steel and release a fire that we gods have not felt for a long time." "Yasaka, and that would be?" "Hephaestus, primordial fire." With those words they left everyone silent, and the gods trembling with fear at those words. "Odin, they are not the only ones who are suffering because of that." Everyone looked at old Odin, who was rubbing his beard. "Shiva, what do you mean by that?" "Odin, my granddaughter Thirst told me that the war trophy room was completely frozen, so she made her hands glow and showed her son Thor and her children to touch the weapon, but they were trying frozen and the Mjolnir fell on the ground destroyed." "Odin, that was inside a small frozen crystal stalactite that I found on one of my trips, and I never thought it would be an axe that released that tremendous cold." Leaving many surprised by the beauty of said weapon, and they continued watching everything that was happening in the two factions, and after chatting about other things they continued with the search for the chestnut. Present. You could see a big mansion, and inside it everything was off and all the rooms were closed except for one where you could see a redhead and a brunette sleeping peacefully while hugging a stuffed animal that had the shape of the brown-haired boy, and there were only the two of them there. But what happened to the rest? Well, they decided to lock themselves in their rooms of their respective factions, such as the Seraph Gabriel, the Cadre Penemu, the Mouse Seraphal, who no longer smiled. The Kitsune sisters went to live in a cabin in the forest away from everything. The Valkyrie Ross returned to Asgard to be in her house, and from there she never left. And the others, like Irina, Asia, Zenobia, bought an apartment in another part of Kwa. So slowly the harem dissolved, and others tried to forget what happened and move on, but they couldn't, because every time they sleep they would have that memory of having betrayed their loved one, or even nightmares of a chestnut lying somewhere bleeding and dying, or with others women who were healing their hearts. And about the leaders, they had stopped looking for him since it was almost impossible to find him, and they could not feel his aura since he returned the power of the dragons and expelled Drake from his body, and cut off mental communication with him and with the dragon goddesses, who decided to stay in the dimensional gap, and in their arms were those orbs of power that were theirs and previously the brown one, and they could only cry for the stupidity they did. And Drake, well, with the help of Azazel, created an artificial body for him and decided to stay and live with the dragons, who only saw him seriously and others with indifference for having betrayed his companions, since for a dragon loyalty to a person is the most important thing for them, and he had broken that sacred law and was not worthy of his title as a celestial. Meanwhile, in another part of the world, in an aquatic cave, you could see what seemed to be a fighting room, and in it you could see a chestnut surrounded by fire fighting against a man in the same state as him, only his fire was weaker due to age. Kratos, come on, grandson, prove that you are worthy of continuing my legacy. Issei, you'll see, Grandpa, I'll be able to defeat you and prove that I'm worthy of your favor. Kratos, no, prove it with actions and not with words. Issei, I said that I will defeat you, and no matter how many times I fail, I will keep getting up again and again until I achieve it. Chapter 6. Grandson and grandfather can be seen facing each other in a brutal fist fight, only both were surrounded by a red fire that released ashes. Kratos, that's all you have, my grandson. Were they just words from you that you would defeat me? Issei, you haven't seen anything yet, Grandpa. To make a great leap and fall hard to the ground, raising pieces of burning stone. Kratos, it seems that you got the tremor of Atlas. What more tricks do you hide, my grandson? Issei, several grandfathers, but I still do not master them 100%. But I am young and immortal, and with the passing of years or even centuries I will master all my new abilities to generate a black ray, and combined with the Spartan fury it was much more powerful, and he throws it at his grandfather, hitting him full on, sending him crashing into a pill. And destroying it in the process. Kratos, not bad, you managed to use the power of your great-grandfather Zeus, but this one was different, it was more powerful, but with time it will be even more so. To see that he had a wound on his body that was healed in a matter of seconds. Issei, shit, I forgot about his healing factor, but then he received some powerful blows that sent him crashing into a huge rock, and before stopping one blow he received several more blows, and somewhat disoriented he saw how his grandfather broke one side of the rock and dropped it on him, burying him underneath. Kratos, that was because of your lack of language to walk for a while, but he stops and quickly activates his shield, protecting himself from the huge rock that fell on him, and when he sees where it came from he sees his grandson without the Spartan fury, and with several wounds and breathing with exhaustion. Issei, this is not over until he manages to defeat you by clenching his fists tightly, and a blue aura that release frost surrounds him in addition to healing all his wounds. Okay, Grandpa, round 2. To start running, and with a strong blow he dents his grandfather's shield, and before Kratos could counterattack he receives a kick in his left side, sending him crashing into the wall. Kratos, that hurt, but how did he manage to access Nordic Fury to stop talking, since he had to put his arms in an X to avoid a direct hit to his face, and with a quick movement he takes his grandson's arm and slams him hard against the floor to repeatedly hit his face against the floor, trying to knock him unconscious. Issei, taking his grandfather's hand, freeing himself from his grip, and with a strong blow to the chest he crashes him against a column to use the piece of the column as a club and send him out of the Colosseum. Meanwhile, in another part of the island, you can see a chestnut arriving in a boat, and on its face you could see a lot of anger. Mickey, when I find you, Dad, you will suffer the same punishment that my mother gave you. Upon reaching the dock, he tied the boat to one of the logs to walk for a while through the forest, where he saw his father's cabin in the distance. Mickey, ah, how many good memories this place brings back. Happy memory. To see how a little girl ran with joy in the meadow, and behind her mother, who had a beautiful smile, and her father with his serious but relaxed face, and carrying her mother as a piggyback. Little Mickey, Oka-san, it's my turn to have Oto-san carry me on his piggyback. She said it with an adorable pout. Mickey's mother, I'm sorry honey, but your mother is still too tired to walk, and your father lost with me, so he has to be my horse until we get home, and then it will be your turn to play with him. Little Mickey, it's okay, Oka-san, whispered Mala. Mickey's mother, what did you say, daughter? She said it with a sweet voice. Little Mickey, nothing, mother, she said, a little shaky. Kratos, enough, woman, don't you see that you scare our little one? Mickey, and who gave you permission to speak? Horses don't speak, or do you want to suffer another punishment? He said it with the same sweet voice. Kratos. Mickey, I like it that way. End of memory. Then that memory disappears, and as he continues walking another memory comes to him, a sad one. Teenage Mickey, Okaya-san, please don't go, stay here with me, and Oto-san, you swore to stay with us. Mickey, I'm sorry my dear daughter, I can't stay any longer since they don't accept you as my daughter, and they only see you as a hybrid that never had to be born. But don't worry, your father will take care of you. Kratos, you don't have to go, stay and I will protect them from them, he said while carrying his wife's face, drying the tears that fell from her beautiful face. Mickey, I'm sorry love, but I don't want my brothers to do anything to you. I know your strength and your power, but don't forget that our daughter is still weak and they could take her hostage, so swear to me that you will take care of her no matter what. To give her husband a tender kiss on the lips and being reciprocated by him, then separate from the kiss and stand in front of her daughter, who is still crying but stops when she feels her mother's warm hand touching her cheek. Mickey, listen to me my daughter, promise me that you will be strong and obey your father in everything he tells you, and don't worry, one day I will return, I promise. And another thing, find that person who fills your heart with a lot of love, and from that love a beautiful boy or girl will be born. In order to get away from them, and behind her a golden door appears and is slowly opened by two men who escort her inside, and for the last time she sees her husband and daughter, and with tears falling from her face the door is close to disappear from the place. Teenage Mickey, the Kaukaya SSSANNNNNN. End of the sad memory. Upon arriving at the cabin, another memory invades her mind, but this one made her somewhat happy. Memory. You see an older Mickey and her husband next to her, who is carrying a little 4-year-old Issei. Goro, love, do you think he will accept me? I said it doubtfully. Mickey, calm down, love, it's my father we're talking about. He may be a bit serious and grumpy, but he's my father and our little one wants to meet his grandfather. Issei, 4 years old, that's right, Oka-chan, I want to see my grandpa and play with him, he said happily. At that moment there is a knock on the door, and the sound of heavy footsteps is heard, and the door is slowly opened where a 2.60 tall man opens it, and what he sees only leaves him to sigh. Kratos, hello my daughter, what brings you to this place and who is your companion? Mickey, well dad, the truth is that he is. Goro, I'm your husband, nice to meet you, father-in-law. And a deadly silence was felt in the environment, where Agora trembled with fear at the serious look of his wife's father, but from one moment to the next the atmosphere changed to a calmer one. Kratos, that was the surprise you wanted to give me, daughter, to meet your husband. Mickey, no, not that, but the little person behind us. Come on, little one, don't be afraid, go out and meet your grandpa. That caught the man's attention, and he saw a little brown-haired boy approaching, and with all the innocence in the world he said, Issei, 4 years old, excuse me sir, you are my grandfather, he said it happily. Kratos, so this was the surprise you wanted to give me, right? And answering your question, yes, I am your little grandfather, so he can kneel down and carry him on his shoulder, making the child feel like a giant. Mickey, that's right, father, I said it happily. Now you are a grandfather. Kratos, I wish your mother was here to meet her grandson. Mickey, I think the same. I said it a bit sadly, but I put that sadness aside since he came so that his son could have fun with his grandfather. End of memory. Mickey, what beautiful moments we spent here. It's a shame that my husband died, but she hears a loud noise and sees her father flying quickly to destroy several trees. Issei, come on old man, that's all you have. Mickey, Issei Hyades Sparta, what does all this mean, and I want an explanation right now young man, she said it very angrily. Issei, mommy. Kratos, I'd better stay here since I know my daughter's strength to play dead. Chapter 7. You could see an Issei and Kratos on their knees and in front of them a furious Mickey, but the strange thing was that both Issei and Kratos had a huge bump from an angry mother/daughter. Mickey, very well father, you are going to explain to me why you released the seal that I put on my baby, and I want you to say it now. Kratos, well my daughter, I just wanted my grandson to know his roots, so I had to release his true power, and I'm sorry. Issei, mother please don't hurt grandpa, I was the one who came here to ask for help. Mickey, help confused, help because maybe you did something stupid again. Issei, well only if you promise not to get angry. To see his mother nod. And so Issei proceeded to tell him everything in great detail, what the girls did in addition to trying to change their attitude by force, and discovering that his partner Drake knew about this but did not tell him anything. Issei, and that's why I came here to ask Grandpa for help with the loss of control of my power, and he helped me change that desire for revenge. Everything was silent, but suddenly a terrifying murderous instinct was felt throughout the world, causing every leader and god of each faction to feel true terror. But the most terrified were the girls, since that instinct was directed at them. The male leaders. While all the older women, like mothers feeling such a murderous instinct, could only kneel down because somewhere in the world a mother was super furious. Back with Issei's mother. You could see a Kratos protecting a chibi Issei who didn't stop shaking, and in front of them was a very terrifying monster, this one being his mother, who had red eyes and a scary smile. Mickey, damn you, after giving them my blessing, this is how you treat my baby. I will not forgive you for this. When I see you, I will torture you in the worst way possible, and you will know why you should never make a mother angry. Kratos, daughter, enough, don't you see that Issei has already fainted from all the killer instinct you released? At that point she calms down, and quickly takes her father away from her baby to hug him and cradle him like a baby. Mickey, now calm down baby, Mommy is here and I won't let any of those magpies get close to you, or else I will use this. Taking out a golden flip-flop with several gems, and that gave off enormous power. Meanwhile, in another part of the universe you can see the Shaggy god looking for something. Shaggy, hey Scooby-Doo, have you seen my left flip-flop? I needed to go play a basketball game with some friends. Scooby-Doo, I think I know where he is, wait, let me look for him. Opening a space-time rift and removing Mickey's flip-flop and replacing it with a normal flip-flop. Scooby-Doo, here you go, friend, and if you'll excuse me, I have a date with the refrigerator. Back on Earth. And Issei is seen resting on his mother's legs, who is gently caressing his head. Mickey, don't worry my little one, they won't hurt you anymore, and tell me father why you released their power. Kratos, I had to do it because I feel that an evil that has been locked away for many centuries is about to be released, and that is why I had to break the seal of his true power, since he is the only one capable of defeating these entities, since I am too old to be able to face them. Furthermore, he will not be alone, since people from my past, his descendants, will help him in the fight against these beings of great power, since within my grandson runs the blood of two great and strongest gods. I know that he will take the right path and lead the world to a better one. Mickey, are you sure about that, father, and what happens if they decide to come for him? She began to cry. I don't want them to come and try to kill my only son, since he has his grandmother's blood running through his veins. Kratos, calm down my daughter, don't forget that he is being trained by the best Spartan general, and he will never be alone, since he will always be accompanied by the people who love him for who he is. And I also know that he can change the course of the world. To put his hand on his grandson's head, which brings a smile to his face. While in heaven, in a special room, you can see an archangel who is sleeping naked and hugging a stuffed animal. But the curious thing about this stuffed animal was that it looked like Issei. Michaela, MMHHH Issei-kun, where are you? Your beautiful angel wants you by her side to hug the stuffed animal tighter between her big breasts. Damn Gabriel, this is all your fault. If it weren't for the fact that you are my sister, I would have killed you a long time ago, just like those damn hitches. And then Issei would be only mine to have hearts in her eyes, and imagining her Issei doing unholy things. In addition to seeing herself with a pregnant belly being hugged by her brown-haired boy, and seeing 5 boys/girls running in a grassy meadow. Michaela, no matter how long it takes, I will find you Issei-kun, and we will be happy together. For its white wings to shine even more intensely, becoming even whiter and going from having 9 pairs to 10 pairs of wings. Notice. Another one for the new harem of the Spartan centaurist. Appearance of Michaela Michael Fem. With Issei, he is seen already awake and eating with his grandfather and mother inside the cabin, but from one moment to the next he feels a huge chill. Issei thoughts, I feel like somewhere there is a crazy woman who wants to grape me, and without Vaseline. Mickey, everything's okay son, you look a little tense, something happened. Issei, nothing better, let's continue enjoying this moment, and by the way, Grandpa, what was it you wanted to say? Kratos, tomorrow you will come with me to meet some friends and they will give you something very important to you. Issei, it's okay. Chapter 8. It was a new day in Ireland, and deep in the forest you could see two men, one young and the other old, each carrying a huge log on his shoulders as winter was approaching and they would need a lot of firewood to keep warm. Kratos, very well, my grandson, you will cut the firewood while I prepare the provisions for the winter, and when we finish we will go visit some friends since they want to meet you and give you some gifts. Issei, okay grandpa. To take an axe and start cutting the log to make firewood for the fireplace. While they were doing that, a Mickey could be seen sitting under a tree watching how both her son and her father worked hard without stopping, as if this were a training routine for the two of them. Mickey, I miss you, mother. I hope and expect that wherever you are watching and that one day you will meet your grandson. To see the sky with some sadness, and then see how the two of them continued working. After a while you could see a huge mountain of firewood, and Issei, still somewhat sweaty but not tired, drying himself with a towel, and after a while he saw his grandfather come out of the warehouse. Issei, ready grandpa, I finished cutting the logs and stacking them, now we can go see those people, he said excitedly. Kratos, never forget what I taught you, always stay calm and don't let your guard down so much. To see how Issei calmed down and changed his happy expression to a calmer and more relaxed one. Issei, sorry grandpa, it's just that it will be my first time in that place and I'm a little anxious to meet them, but I have a question, how will we get to where they are? Kratos, calm down, I have my methods and something else to whistle loudly, drawing Mickey and Issei's attention with that whistle. Issei, grandpa, why the whistle? Kratos, a gift from your grandmother. She visited me in a dream yesterday and told me that she is sending this to you and that she will come to meet you very soon. Issei, wait, like grandma never knew what she was like. Kratos, all in good time, and it seems that he is coming. To hear a loud noise coming from the sky. To land in front of them a black dragon. Issei, a dragon, that's the gift my grandmother sent me. To get closer to the dragon and try to touch it, but receives a tail blow from it, sending it against a mountain of leaves. The dragon just lets out a light laugh at his action and then smiles. Issei, very funny, now you'll see. To attack the dragon where it is, he just jumps, causing Issei to pass by, and when he turns around, he falls on top of him to use him as a pillow. Kratos, well, it seems that the two of you will get along very well, since according to your grandmother, this dragon is your same age, meaning he is still a teenager. Issei, and now you tell me that information, grandpa, and hey, you prankster reptile, free me right now and maybe I won't decide to barbecue with you. The dragon, understanding what he says, just ignores him to take a nap on it. Mickey, well son, I think we'll leave you alone so you can chat with your new friend. Issei, wait mom, don't leave me with this fool. And so they leave the duo alone, where night falls and a dragon is seen getting up from its place, thus freeing the brown-haired boy who had to stretch out, since it's not every day that a dragon uses you as a pillow. Issei, thank you for freeing me and sorry for calling you a useless reptile. The dragon just looked at him for a moment and let his wings spread and get lost in the dark starry night, leaving Issei alone, who just decided to ignore that to walk to the cabin and enter it and sleep a little in his bed. The next morning, Kratos is seen being accompanied by a somewhat sleepy Issei. Kratos, come on grandson, we're almost there. Issei, okay grandpa, but I have a question. Kratos, and which one would that be? Issei, he has to be accompanying us, pointing to the dragon that was following them from a distance, and was trying to camouflage itself among the trees so as not to be seen. Kratos, that is not my responsibility but yours, and it was a gift from your grandmother. Issei, and what was she like and how did you meet her? Kratos, I met her a long time ago and she was unique, her way of thinking and seeing others, her beautiful face and her sweet voice, her beautiful golden eyes and her long dark hair, she was perfect, but one day she had to return to her kingdom and I never saw her again. Issei, you miss her, right? Kratos, as you have no idea. Whenever night falls I look at the sky and say good night, and I continue to wait for its return so I can feel again that sweet warmth that made my heart happy. Issei, I hope one day I can meet her and tell her many things and that you can see her again, Grandpa. To continue walking until you reach what looks like a ruined door. Kratos, well, here we are. Issei, Grandpa, are you sure it's here? I only see a ruined door and nothing behind it. Kratos, you are still too young to understand some things, taking out a blue stone and lifting it in front of the door where it slowly begins to repair itself, and when finished, it is opened with the Spartan showing a different place. Issei, Grandpa, what is that place? Kratos, you'll have to go inside to find out. Thus they go through the door, followed by the dragon, who barely managed to fit through the door, generating a droplet for Issei, so the dragon did to follow his grandfather until they reached a somewhat large house and above it a blue tree with purple touches. Issei, where are we? That has an explanation. Issei, who are you? Brock/Sindri, we are the Holdra brothers and welcome to our Issei home. Chapter 9. Issei, who are you? Brock, I am Brock and the one next to me is my brother Sindri. Sindri, nice to meet you, huh? Issei Hayato, but everyone calls me Issei. Sindri, nice to meet you, I'm Kratos' grandson. Brock, so this is your grandson, looking him up and down. Kratos, that's right. Brock, and who does this dragon belong to? If it doesn't belong to anyone, I can use it as work material. Looking at Toothless Scales, who felt the blue dwarf's gaze and just hid behind Issei. Issei, it's my pet, a gift from my grandmother. Sindri, it was fine, and bros, stop scaring the poor dragon and come help me with this. Pulling a large trunk with Spartan and Nordic engravings. Issei, let me help you. Brock, you won't be able to lift that thing, it weighs almost 500k. But Issei lifted him up as if it were nothing, surprising the dwarves with his great strength to see Kratos, who was just silently watching. Issei, where do you want me to put this? Brock, just put it here, pointing to the floor. Issei just obeyed and carefully lowered the box, where both brothers took out a split key each and inserted it into the slot, opening the large trunk, revealing inside a blue armor with silver touches as well as an omega symbol. Issei, what is this? It looks like armor, and I can feel a great power coming out of it from whoever it is. Sindri, well, your grandfather asked us to make it for you. Issei could only look at his grandfather to thank him for that. Kratos could only caress his grandson's head. Brock, well, what are you waiting for? Try it on. So Issei puts on his armor to look at himself in a mirror. Issei, it's incredible. Besides being very light and allowing me to move easily, what is it made of, since I don't know what metal is? Sindri, well, the material is not from this world but from another. Issei, what do you mean by another world? Kratos, you are not ready to know the whole truth yet, my grandson. For now, I will leave you with them since I have unfinished business with someone. Issei, I understand, Grandpa. I'll stay here and train with Toothless. The dragon nods. So Kratos, using the travel stone, rebuilds the door and retreats. Issei, tell me, do you have a place where I can train? Brock, well, you'll be the first to try out our new room where time and space don't exist. Issei and Toothless were guided to some black doors with several ancient symbols, and both brothers fused a key and inserted it into the door mechanism. From inside the door a click could be heard, indicating that the door had been opened, and inside there was nothing. It was a completely dark room. Sindri, well, if you need anything just let us know. Brock, goodbye, grandson of Kratos, and avoid breaking it. It costs a lot to do so. Issei, alright buddy, are you ready for this? Toothless, ARRGGH. So the duo proceed to enter the place, and behind them the doors slowly closed. Time skip 4 months. During that time, things in the factions were somewhat unstable because they still hadn't found their pillar, and the women in the brown-haired boy's ex-harem were going crazy. They discovered that they had been banned from their ex-mother-in-law's house, who told them that she already knew everything, and if they didn't want to suffer her wrath, they had to leave the house and return it to their previous state. The leaders tried to ask him if he knew where his son was and if he could tell him where he was. She only replied that a few days ago she was with her son, but then her father and her son's grandfather took him away. With that said, I ended up closing the door in their faces, and with the little information they obtained, they could not do a search since they did not know where they were. Soon some bad things started to happen in the world, and that was caused by a new group of terrorists, made up of former members of the Chaos Brigade, a few humans, and surprisingly Hades and Ares, who only used clones to fake their deaths. The goal of this new terrorist group was not the extinction of the supernatural. It was not the global conquest of the entire world. That's how they had no choice but to show themselves to the humans, and with a peace treaty they reached an agreement to help each other, and with that they asked all the High Command for help in finding their pillar hider Issei. Meanwhile in Asgard, Odin the All-Father was having a dream where he could see himself lying on the ground and all his fallen comrades around him. In front of him was the enemy army ready to finish him off, but out of nowhere a barrier rose up protecting him, and in front of him appeared 4 silhouettes, 1 man, 2 women and 1 dragon, but he couldn't distinguish them with anyone since they were just dark silhouettes. But then the one in the middle, who was the man, gave him a look that left him surprised. In his eyes he could see the light of hope. When he got up he noticed that he was all sweaty, and he grabbed his head. "Odin, I have to prepare a meeting as soon as possible." Somewhere unknown, inside a dark room, was a brown-haired man with long hair and a beard in a meditation pose, and behind him a somewhat large sleeping dragon. He slowly opens his eyes, releasing a burst of white energy around him, and in his eyes he had a beautiful shine. "Issei, ready, this is more than enough." Chapter 10. Outside the room were Brock and Sindri when the sound of something opening caught the attention of both brothers, and they saw something black with 4 legs come out of there. It was toothless, and the next thing they saw was still Issei, completely changed. "Brock, it was about time you left. Tell us how it went." "Issei, I don't complain. The place was comfortable. The only thing that wasn't there was a bathroom so I could clean myself." "Sindri, then you wag, you are dirty." "Brock, my grandmother's beard stinks. Go and take a bath right now." Issei and Toothless passed near Sindri, who, upon smelling them, ended up fainting due to the strong smell they both gave off. "They are in the shower." Issei began to brush the body of his reptilian friend, and after finishing with him, it was his turn to clean himself and get rid of the zombie smell he had. At that moment someone knocked on the door, and Brock's voice could be heard telling him that he had brought him some clothes. Issei shouted a thank you from the shower, and once he was clean he grabbed his clothes and put them on, and looking in a mirror he took out a small dagger that he had made with one of Toothless' scales and began to cut the extra hair that had grown on him, and taking a piece of rope he tied up the excess hair and left it up because he wanted to be like his grandfather. Once he was ready he went outside to see Brock and Drea waiting for him, and when they saw him better they were surprised. "Brock, damn, you look almost exactly like your great-grandfather on your grandmother's side." "Issei, thanks for the compliment." With that, both he and Toothless went to the dining room and prepared a great banquet that they both ended up eating alone. "Sindri, I already told Kratos and he's about to arrive." Some time later we can see how a door was formed, and from it came Mickey, who seemed to be looking for something until he saw it, and without hesitation he went to hug it. "Mickey, my baby, it's been a long time since I saw you. I was very worried. Just look at you now, you're bigger and taller than they made you." "Kratos, daughter, calm down and give my grandson some space. You're suffocating him with that hug of yours." She just watched as her son's face turned blue and he was about to go to the afterlife. "Issei, here I go, St. Peter." Mickey releases his son, who regains his lost breath and then recomposes himself. "Kratos, I see you grew a beard. That attracts women. Well done, and I can see that you have improved a lot in your training." "Issei, that's right, Grandpa. Plus I have new tricks with the spear and the shield." So everyone goes outside and sees how Issei makes his weapons appear and begins to hit the ground with the spear. "Issei, look at this," throwing his spear towards a mountain, and it gets stuck in it just to snap his fingers, and a powerful explosion makes half of the mountain disappear, and extending his hand the spear returns to its bearer. "This is incredible, no?" Everyone was surprised except Kratos, who already knew about his grandson's increase in power. Not for nothing is he also her grandson and his. "Kratos, good, and how much you have improved in your training as an unarmed warrior." "Issei, why don't we find out, Grandpa?" Leaving his spear stuck and his shield to one side, he gets into a fighting stance. Kratos, I like that enthusiasm, let's give it a go. So they both run against each other, and when their fists hit they create a small air wave. Issei, come on old man, this is just beginning, we have to give it our all. Kratos, it's okay if that's what you want. Thus, both grandson and grandfather began to exchange several devastating blows and kicks that broke the ground. Mickey, these two will be fighting for a while. Sindri, 10,000 gold coins that the boy earns. Brock, 30,000 gold coins in a tie. Mickey, seriously, they're betting. Sindri/Brock, yes. To see the fight again, where in a moment of carelessness Kratos Issei grabs him by the leg and spins on his axis to throw his grandfather against several trees that end up being destroyed by him. Issei, oh, that must have happened, but he couldn't continue because his grandfather hit him with a log that looked more like a huge baseball bat, and he flew against the wall. That hurt. Coming out of the wall and very angry at his grandfather who still had the trunk, he approaches the pillar and pulls it out and places it on his shoulder. Kratos, ready to get on with this grandson. Issei, hey grandpa, the question is offensive, of course it is. So they both run away again and you could feel the excitement of the fight starting to rise. A while later you could still see Issei and Kratos somewhat agitated but not given up, continuing to fight without allowing themselves to fail. Kratos, I see you're a little tired, grandson, because you're not giving up once and for all. Issei, a Spartan's back never touches the ground, you taught me that one should never surrender to anyone, especially in a fist fight. Kratos, I taught you well because we are not done with this once and for all. Starting to release his power, and Issei doing the same. They charge at each other again, punching each other in the face, causing them both to be thrown back, but they manage to get back up to continue hitting each other. Mickey, that's enough you two, look at the time and stop right now. But both of them ignored her and continued with their own thing, which angered the woman, and pulling a flip-flop out of nowhere, she threw them both, ending up on the floor. Sindri and Brock saw that, and also saw her approach and claimed the bags of gold. Mickey, well, I won, thanks for the gold coins. Sindri/Brock, shit. In another place a woman of great beauty was in her room and watched everything that was happening with some tears. Tsukuyumi, look how much you have grown, my adorable grandson, how I wish I could leave this place and be by your side and by the side of my beloved daughter. Since one of her tears fell into the pond. Tsukuyumi, I swear that one day I will find a way to get out of this place, and we will be able to see a complete family again.
Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.